Hello everybody, Chaz6 here, and welcome back to Adventurous Realms. Now today I wanted to talk a little bit about entrance design, and not necessarily talking about the aesthetics of this entrance that I'm working on right now, but more speaking about from a top-down level, how do you design an entrance that accommodates for the flow of people that it's going to be getting. So today let's check out some real-world examples, and then I'll show you how we can implement theory from those into our own parks. Now first up, this right here is Disneyland, the classic entrance. And when we're looking at these entrances, we really want to think about the flow of people. So Disneyland, compared to other Disney parks, is on the smaller side and also has less guests flowing in. And the guests that are flowing in are a lot of the time more local, so they won't all be staying from park open to park close. So because of that, if we think about the flow of people, even though this entrance seems small, it can actually accommodate a lot of guests at a time. And those guests get through really smoothly. They scan their tickets up here, and then if they want to, they can go directly into one of either two tunnels. And while that could in theory become congested given how small these tunnels are, guests have a reason to stay out here. There's basically just like a loading dock where guests, even if they don't know it, are waiting to keep these tunnels less congested. See, even in Google Earth, you can see the impression of people waiting in line to take a picture right here. So yeah, in summary, what we can learn from Disneyland is that you don't need a giant entrance hall to funnel your people through. If you give your people something to look at to kind of divert them from the main path, or if you make it a little bit harder to get to the main path for your guests, then even on a small footprint, you can keep guests moving. Disneyland also shows us that it's important to know the demographic of people coming to your park. If you know your park won't be that busy and people will be funneling in and out throughout the day and you won't have big crowds at the start of the day, you don't need a big entrance to accommodate for that. Now next up on a far larger scale is Disneyland Paris. Now this park right here takes what I was just talking about and turns it up an insane amount. Before you even get to ticketing, guests have a reason to slow down. They have this park right here that they can enjoy, they got fountains that they can look at, and of course they have the beautiful hotel. And on top of that, this park just has some insane capacity for this entrance. So even if everybody just completely skipped this and ran directly here in the morning, the lines never get long because they have so many entrance gates that you can take. And then on top of that, at the end of the day when people are ready to leave, at Disneyland, that's not really something they need to think about because they can just switch the gates from entrance to exit. But over here, with so many people, the design completely changes and now our guests have dedicated exit gates on either side of the hotel. So what we can learn from Disneyland Paris is that holding your guests off can start even before they scan their tickets, and we can increase the capacity of our entrance areas by just giving dedicated exit areas. So back in our park, what can we learn from this? Well, if we give our guests something to look at before they get into the park, even if our entrance gates are a little bit smaller, our guests will be held off out here and there will be a little bit less congested of a flow coming into these doors. And when it comes to leaving the park, we have dedicated exit ways as well. Now that we've learned this, I think it's time that we try to apply these ideas to this park. You can see I already have some of this design philosophy roughed out, but I do want to flesh it out a little bit. And especially considering that I'm envisioning that this park is a pretty big destination, a destination where guests aren't just leaving in the middle of the day for no reason, I do want to give us more exit opportunities. But yeah, with that, for the first time this series, I think it's time to get building. I'm going to lower our ticketing and security into the ground so that now as guests enter the park, this entrance building looks a lot more looming and important. I noticed one interesting thing as well while I was looking at Disneyland Paris, and that was that they had a dedicated outside entrance to the hotel for guests that just want to be dropped off in a car instead of walking and hauling all of their luggage out to here. And honestly, I can't believe I didn't think about that. So for that reason, let's put another entrance area right here. So right here is where it is pretty important to think about guest sightlines. because from right here, I want guests to be able to see the airship, but I don't want them to fully be able to see the entrance building. So right here, this is kind of building on the, distracting your guests, kind of making it a bit of a challenge to get to the entrance area, because right here, there is a little extra windy path you can take. So from down here, these trees kind of frame and conceal this building. You still get a look at this guy. That guy's kind of hidden. But then as you come up here, you can see the blimp and the building. Now we could do a fountain. In fact, I do quite like that fountain specifically. Yeah, that's pretty much the bones of this done. I think I'm gonna come in, give this entire area a final pass off camera, and I'll see you guys in a minute once this is fully detailed up. All right, now here we are at the entrance to the park. Now, it's times like these where I kind of wish the formula for this series was a bit more traditional, because I got really inspired to build this entrance ticketing booth, and I wish I could have taken you guys along for the ride with me, but I mean, I technically could have recorded it, but I was trying to stick to the formula of this, where it's a lot more about the theory of what I'm building and less about what the physical buildings are. But I can't deny that this would have been at least a little bit fun to watch me build. But yeah, that's enough rambling. Let's take a look at this. So this right here is our ticketing and security. So the ticketing rooms aren't like completely full, but I put enough in there to kind of give the impression from the outside that there's something going on. Even if you get up close, you can get the gist of it. And the security is probably a little bit too small, so I might expand the security to go to the other two sides of the building as well, specifically for this side of the park entrance. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but the same building is on the other side of the entrance plaza, and that one probably won't need the extended security just because that one won't get as much foot traffic. So once we walk through security, a lot of this is pretty much the same, but if you'll see, I've added these interesting looking planters around the side, and I think these fences really tie the area together. Now after that, we continue our way through, again kind of being distracted by all of this, and we come up to our main entrance plaza, where if you look closely, we have a photo zone. Now I made this as a blueprint so I can copy and paste it all around the park, but I'm imagining that this is kind of like the PhotoPass brand for this park. So photo zone would be the brand that goes on like the on-ride photos, and then of course there would be these like photo zone markers on the ground in front of important places where you could get your picture taken. And obviously this guy won't be the one taking the pictures, this is just for scale, but I would trust him to take my picture. Now, if you'll notice, I did change the fountain a little bit from the original design, and that's mainly just because the original design looked a little bit tacky, I guess, but I like this a lot more. It's very grand, very regal, and then of course we have the water effects to go along with it. Now coming up to here, you can see I've also tied the main building into the plaza by kind of giving it this tiled, like checkered tiled floor entrance, transitioning from the building to here. And then of course I also put planters connected to the building in the same style as the planters for the rest of the area. Now if we come in from this entrance, this is the exact same building that's on the other side, except this is where I originally built the building. The one on that side is just copy and pasted from here. And I guess one last thing of note is that I added another little side path right here for guests to take. I like that this one feels a little bit more cozy than the other one. Yeah, so with that, I'd say this entrance area is pretty much complete. Obviously the road work connecting to it is not complete, and obviously this main building right here is not complete, but all the aspects of the entrance which are like crucial that matter are in place. Yeah, but that's about it from me. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.